Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. The press conference of the fourth session of the 13th National Committee of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference now begins. On behalf of the Secretariat of the session, I would like to welcome all Chinese and foreign journalists joining our press conference. As required by the session's COVID-19 protocols, the press conference today is held via online video. The main venue is set up in the press conference hall in the Great Hall of the People. The sub-venue is set up in the multi-function hall on the second floor of the Media Center Hotel. The press conference will last about 60 minutes. I now give the floor to Mr. Guo Weiming, member of the 13th CPPCC National Committee and Deputy Secretary General and spokesperson of the fourth session of the 13th CPPCC National Committee. He will introduce the main agenda of the session and then take questions. Ladies and gentlemen, friends from the media, good afternoon. In early spring, we are gathered here on schedule in March. I would like to welcome all of you attending this press conference and friends from all walks of life watching this event on TV or via online streaming. The year 2020 was an extraordinary one in the history of the People's Republic of China. The CPC Central Committee, with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core, led the entire Chinese nation in forging ahead with tenacious efforts. China has achieved major gains in both COVID-19 response and economic and social development. The objectives of poverty alleviation were completed on schedule. China's endeavor to build a moderately prosperous society has yielded great historic achievements. Every one of us has made great efforts and active contribution. The year 2021 carries special significance in China's modernization process. We will celebrate the centenary of the CPC's founding, formulate and implement the 14th five-year plan, embark on a new journey toward fully building a modern socialist country. The upcoming fourth session of the 13th CPPCC National Committee will focus on the formulation and implementation of the 14th five-year plan, conduct in-depth consultation and deliberation, and pour wide consensus. Now, entrusted by the Secretariat of the session, let me introduce the agenda items of this session. The fourth session of the 13th CPPCC National Committee will open at 3:00 p.m. tomorrow at the Great Hall of the People and close on the afternoon of 10th of March. The agenda for the session includes the following: to hear and deliberate the work report of the Standing Committee of the CPPCC National Committee and the report on proposal-related work. To sit in on the fourth session of the 13th National People's Congress, hear and discuss reports including the government work report and other reports, and discuss the draft outline of the 14th five-year plan for national economic and social development and the long-range goals for 2035. To review and approve resolutions and reports, including the political resolution of the fourth session of the 13th CPPCC National Committee. During this session, there will be an opening meeting, a closing meeting, and 2 conference addresses. One of the addresses will be held via video conference. There will be 6 group discussions. The opening and closing meetings will be open to foreign envoys in Beijing. All preparations for this session have been completed. On media arrangements, considering the needs of COVID-19 control and the duration of the session, media coverage arrangements remain the same as last year, and only some Beijing-based Chinese and foreign reporters are invited to cover the session at the Great Hall of the People. The 3 CPPCC Members' Passage interview events will be organized through video link. We encourage Chinese and foreign journalists to cover the session via the internet, video link, telephone, and other diverse means. We have set up online video interview rooms in the hotels of CPPCC members. The press service team of the CPPCC session and press liaison officers based at the hotels will provide services and facilitation for Chinese and foreign reporters. The CPPCC National Committee will release the relevant arrangements, documents, and materials in time on its press center website. Please follow the updates online. Now, I would like to take questions regarding this session and the work of CPPCC. Thank you. The floor is open for questions. Before asking your question, please identify your media affiliation. We advise that each journalist ask only one question at a time. Please raise your hand to let us know.
两会也做了延期，那么我们想请问的是，去年政协委员的提案是否都得到了有效的办理？一年间，全国政协又是如何克服不利影响开展工作？谢谢。
With China Media Group and CCTV, 2020 was an extraordinary year. COVID-19 deeply affected economic and social development, and the MPC and CPPCC sessions were postponed. My question is about the proposals raised by CPPCC members last year. Have they been effectively handled? How has the CPPCC National Committee coped with the impacts and conducted its work? Thank you.
It's true that last year we have made profound and complex changes in domestic and international situations and the impact of COVID-19. The CPPCC faced new circumstances and challenges in carrying out its work. Under the strong leadership of the CPC Central Committee, with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core, the CPPCC National Committee met the challenges head-on and focused its work on the central tasks of the party and the country. Our 2,100-plus members from 34 participating groups acted with great resolve, responsibility, and diligence, made important contributions to COVID-19 response and economic and social development, and excellently fulfilled their duties. Over the past year, the National Committee has contributed actively to COVID-19 response. It mobilized CPPCC committees at all levels, our participating organizations, our special committees, and our members to work proactively by various means and offer suggestions on COVID-19 prevention and control, economic reopening, and ensuring stability in 6 priority areas and security in 6 key areas. Our members from various sectors fought the virus on the front line, participated in medical treatment and research, and helped keep jobs and businesses stable. Many of their deeds are truly touching. Many of our members are in the medicine and health sector, science and technology sector, and the private business sector. They have worked around the clock on the front line. Over the past year, the National Committee has made fresh progress in consultation and deliberation. As you mentioned in your question, Our session last year was postponed. Therefore, from the last session to this one, our work cycle was shortened, and some activities could not be held. But we intensified our work on consultation and deliberation. Around the year, we held 23 major events, including special meetings on major national policy, special consultative meetings, and bi-weekly consultative forums. Organized 80 inspections, visits, and studies. Produced more than 7,500 reports and made over 5,900 proposals. You asked about the handling of proposals. Let me say that we intensified work related to proposals, improved the quality, and made a lot of innovations. Proposals have produced good effects. At the opening meeting tomorrow, CPPCC leaders will give more detailed introduction to our work related to proposals. I will not go into too much detail. And the themes of these proposals focused on the formulation of the 14th Five-Year Plan, winning the battle against poverty, and other major decisions and policies, as well as better supporting measures for the new family planning policy, food safety supervision in the food delivery sector, and other social and livelihood matters. The National Committee conducted in-depth and intensive consultation and deliberation. Members participated at greater depth. We conducted even closer exchange with government departments. A lot of our meetings invite officials from relevant departments to participate. Our work platforms and channels have increased. We are using the internet more often, and consultation deliberation has produced more fruitful results. Over the past year, the National Committee has focused on building consensus and contributing positive energy. It has reflected consensus building in all the work of the CPPCC. It communicated with the public to explain policies, address concerns, and guide expectations, pulling wide public consensus on policies and propositions of the party. Last year, on COVID-19 response, on the fostering of a new development paradigm, on poverty alleviation and rural revitalization, and on other topics of public interest, we hosted 12 committee member lecture programs and arranged 14 awareness-raising tours, which received broad attention. Over the past year, the National Committee has utilized the Internet effectively. The 13th National Committee made better use of online consultation, especially in COVID-19 response. We made full use of our mobile work platform with our cell phones and conducted online studies, discussions, and consultations. In the past, it was one-on-one consultation, but now we have one on several points, an online-offline connection, which became a new highlight in our work. This has made our work more timely and interactive, and fully unleashed the CPPCC's potential and efficacy as a specialized consultative body. Some of our members say that wherever there are matters of major public interest, there is work of the CPPCC and participation of CPPCC members. Thank you.
谢谢主持人。发言人您好，我是中国日报的记者。近些年来，政协大会大都是在3月3日召开，会期10天左右。今年政协大会的开幕时间是3月4日，会期压缩至6天半。请问这是出于什么考虑？会成为惯例吗？谢谢。
With China Daily. Over the years, the CPPCC annual sessions normally began on March the 3rd and lasted for some 10 days. This year, the session is scheduled to open on March the 4th and conclude after 6.5 days. What are the considerations for such an arrangement? Will it become a common practice in the future? Thank you.
Well, indeed, you have noticed that we have shortened the duration for this year's session. This arrangement is based on last year's practice, as well as the COVID response protocol this year. Last year, in consideration of COVID response and other factors, we shortened the duration, streamlined staffing, and streamlined documents. We also combined physical meetings with virtual ones. It was a successful session, widely applauded by the general public. This year, we will build on the good practices and make the program more time-efficient and better designed, and strive to convene a session with higher efficiency and quality, one that fully leverages the role of the plenary session as the highest level form of consultation and performance of duties, and strengthens the specialist consultative body's functions. Going forward, we will take further stock of the new and effective measures of each session, keep up the good work, and carry forward the good practices so that our sessions are defined by integrity, pragmatism, and efficiency. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a question from CNA. My question is about the global vaccination race. We've seen China's COVID-19 vaccines being in the spotlight, but there have also been questions from some about the transparency of the trial data and the implications that has for safety and efficacy. There have also been questions with regard to whether China is using vaccine diplomacy to prioritize shipping vaccines to other countries to gain influence instead of focusing on its own domestic rollout of its vaccine program. What is your response to this? Thank you.
新加坡亚洲新闻电视台，在全球疫苗竞争中，中国的新冠疫苗备受关注。有人质疑疫苗试验数据的透明度，以及疫苗的安全性和有效性。还有人认为，中国正在优先向其他国家出口疫苗，通过疫苗外交获取更大影响力，而不是专注于在国内推广疫苗接种。请问您对此有何回应？谢谢。
我想，你刚才两个问题呢，
I think the two of your questions were about safety and effectiveness of vaccines and China's export of vaccines and international cooperations. What is China's intention behind it? I can make it very clear to you that the CPPCC members have closely followed developments on vaccines. Our participating groups include the Medicine and Health Group and Science and Technology Group, and many members play important roles in COVID-19 response. Some members, since it's their job, directly take part in vaccine R&D, production and management, and we have a lot of discussions. So on your first question, let me say that ever since COVID-19 struck, China has made vaccine R&D its major task. Government departments, research institutes, and businesses have poured in enormous resources. China has always given top priority to vaccine safety and effectiveness. The competent authorities formulated technical guidelines for COVID-19 vaccines and technical standards for market approval and conditional approval. These standards are basically on par with those of WHO and developed countries. From R&D to each phase of trial, Chinese vaccine companies have strictly followed the relevant technical standards and procedures. And throughout R&D, trial, emergency use, and conditional market approval, we have released authoritative information. The State Council Information Office and Interagency Task Force have both released timely information on COVID-19 response and vaccines. The vaccines previously approved with conditions made by Sinopharm and Sinovac were both inactivated vaccines. Inactivated vaccine is a highly matured technology, as you may all know. Phase 3 trial results of both vaccines meet relevant WHO standards and the requirements of China's technical guidelines. As of the end of February, the 28th of February, China has administered a total of more than 52 million doses of vaccines. As you may have seen, many countries have also approved Chinese vaccines. Some foreign leaders even took the lead in accepting Chinese vaccines. This is also evidence supporting the safety and effectiveness of Chinese vaccines. A few days ago, China's National Medical Products Administration granted conditional market approval to 2 more vaccines. Their R&D and production were also strictly in line with the technical standards and requirements. You also asked about the purpose of our export and cooperation. I noticed that some claim that China is using vaccines to build its geopolitical influence. This is very narrow-minded. Vaccine is an important means to control and defeat the virus, and currently an important field of international anti-epidemic cooperation. China has committed to making vaccines a global public good. We support and encourage Chinese companies to work with other countries on vaccine R&D and production. We have joined WHO's COVAX facility and actively promoted the equitable distribution of vaccines globally. As of the end of February, China has provided vaccine assistance to 69 developing countries and international organizations at their request. Chinese companies have and are exporting vaccines to 28 countries. China is doing this to help the international community defeat the virus together. It is our concrete action to build a community with a shared future for mankind. As we speak, COVID-19 is still raging in many countries. We will work with other countries to secure an early victory against the virus and contribute our share in protecting the life and health of people around the world. Thank you.
谢谢主持人。发言人好，我是法制日报全媒体记者。我提的问题是，去年5月民法典通过后，全国政协创建了民法典读书群，帮助委员学习民法典，提高履职能力，同时在社会形成了影响。我们知道，全国政协在去年开展了委员读书活动，那么1年以来，读书活动的开展情况如何？ 读书活动是如何帮助委员把读书学习成果转化为履职能力的？谢谢。
With Legal Daily. When the Civil Code was adopted last May, the CPPCC National Committee created an online discussion group to help its members study the Civil Code and build greater capacity of fulfilling the duties. Such activities have also generated social impacts. We've also learned that the National Committee has organized book reading programs over the last year. How have such reading programs helped translate what members have learned into their capabilities to deliver? Thank you.
Last year, the Legal Daily and other media have covered the online discussion groups on learning the Civil Code. Indeed, the CPPCC book reading programs have been attracting a growing number of members over the past year. Activities are more diverse, and the benefits are tangible. As we all know that CPPCC members come from various sectors, technology, culture, education, and economy, to name just a few. Reading good books is one of the fine traditions and necessary for all members to perform their duties. In face of the changing global dynamics and the task to fully build a modern socialist country, the CPPCC National Committee carries forward such a fine tradition, establishes new platforms, and encourages its members to take part in book reading programs. It is helpful for members to further improve themselves, strengthen their ability to fulfill duties, so that they will be able to make better policy recommendations and build greater consensus. It also contributes to a scholarly CPPCC and more broadly, a book-loving environment for the entire society. For greater participation and exchanges, the CPPCC makes use of the Internet as it carries more content and not limited by time or space. On the mobile work platform, we have established 47 online discussion groups for National Committee members and 4 for local committee members. Over 1,900 members of the National Committee from 34 sectors logged on to the online academy, and over 17,000 comments have been posted. At airports, train stations, we in the CPPCC will turn on our phones and participate in discussions. The books and topics of discussion include COVID-19 response, rural development, digital economy, as well as the population and growth. They focus on both frontier technologies and traditional cultures, both trending topics and classical theories. For members to better apply what they've learned, they would read, discuss, and make policy recommendations after consultations and deliberation. That enables them to develop better and more useful advice. With their phones on, CPPCC members will be able to read, discuss, and advise. Chairman Wang Yang and others in the CPPCC leadership are also active participants in online discussions, exchanging views with all members. When we log on to the online discussion group, we can discuss with Chairman Wang Yang and others in the leadership. Members from all sectors, from different fields, would express their own opinions on various trending topics. These groups also serve as useful platforms for more in-depth discussions. This format of free and equal-footed discussions
are good for expression of views and building consensus. This is a practice that needs to be carried forward. The book reading programs also motivate the general public, making a positive impact. For instance, the National Committee set up a reading group for learning the Civil Code, which your question also touched on. We invite members with a legal background to lead the discussions and experts involved in codifying the document to answer questions. On the Internet platform, there are 6 sub-programs, including one to help explain terminologies. They will help netizens understand specific legal concepts. Relevant reports have been read more than 16 million times. Hence, the book reading program is making a bigger impact by not just building consensus, but also communicating it to the wider society. We would also like to thank all the media for covering the reading groups. Going forward, the National Committee will work to make the book reading programs a regular event. In a gradual manner, we will deepen and expand its impact. Read more, work better. We in the consultative body would endeavor to contribute more to China's governance system. Thank you.
发言人你好，南方报业全媒体集团南方都市报记者提问。过去1年，刷脸成为大多数人通行必不可少的步骤，但也存在一个问题：一旦个人信息被过度采集，也容易引发社会风险。在防止个人信息滥用方面，全国政协做了哪些工作？有何建议？谢谢。
With Southern Metropolis Daily, over the past year, facial recognition-based access has become part of life for most of the people. At the same time, there is this problem of potential social risk if personal information was excessively collected. Would you elaborate on the work of the CPPCC National Committee on preventing personal information breach? What are the recommendations by the National Committee members? Thank you.
你问的这个问题啊，也的确是社会关注的问题。
Indeed, something that the general public pays a lot of attention to, and many media have written a lot of reports on that. This is also a matter that CPPCC members focus on closely. We live in a world of extensive application of big data, AI, and new internet technologies. Privacy protection and personal information security is an issue that stands out by the day. There has been illegal obtaining of personal information. There has been leaking, abusing, and even selling of personal information, which is a cause for concern. CPPCC members believe that it is important to effectively regulate relevant institutions and Internet firms so that they collect, store, and use personal information in accordance with laws and regulations and protect personal information security and privacy. The CPC and the government place high importance on personal information security and privacy protection. We have learned that competent departments have introduced a series of measures. The Cyberspace Administration of China, Ministry of Industry and Information Technology, Ministry of Public Security, and State Administration for Market Regulation have done a lot, including formulating national standards and regulations to guide and urge businesses and platforms to fulfill their duty of protecting personal information. They launched a targeted operation tackling illegal personal information collection and use by apps, which was also covered widely by the media. They strengthened the management of the use of public security surveillance and facial recognition devices. With regard to personal information collection for COVID response purposes, the authorities issued regulations and conducted compliance inspections. The draft Personal Information Protection Law has been submitted to the NPC Standing Committee for deliberation. Once adopted and implemented, it will play an important role in personal information protection. You mentioned the work that the CPPCC has done. In recent years, the CPPCC National Committee has done a lot on personal information security and privacy protection. Many members made relevant proposals. Last year, the National Committee convened a teleseminar on stronger protection of personal information in the era of big data and a biweekly consultative forum on the issue of science, ethics, and law in AI. The members believe it is important to step up overhauling, implement the regulations to the letters, regulations that have been formulated, refine relevant laws faster, further strengthen supervision and law enforcement, and crack down on privacy and personal information breach. A series of measures have been implemented to build a firewall for personal information. The aim is to ensure the safety of personal information and make people assured. Some CPPCC members who are from internet firms also took part in the discussions. They vowed to strengthen self-discipline of the industry, strike a fine balance between management and service, perform their due responsibilities as enterprises, and fully protect the lawful rights and interests of users. The National Committee will continue to follow this issue and work for new progress in this area. Thank you.
Thank you. I represent Associated Press of Pakistan. My question is that China has made great achievement in poverty alleviation, but we also can see some ongoing dispute over this issue. Someone questions that China's current poverty alleviation standards are lower than the international standard and thinks that China will face the challenge of preventing people from slipping back into impoverishment. So what is your comment? Thank you.
巴基斯坦联合通讯社，中国在脱贫攻坚方面取得了巨大的成就，同时也存在一些争议。有人质疑中国现行扶贫标准低于国际贫困标准，也有人认为中国面临着反贫的挑战。对此，您有何评论？谢谢。
A few days ago, on the 25th of February, we convened a national conference marking China's poverty alleviation achievements. General Secretary Xi Jinping delivered an important address and announced that China has secured a complete victory against poverty. I have noticed a lot of report and coverage in international media. Securing a complete victory against poverty is a major, profound achievement. For a long time, The CPPCC has closely followed and deeply engaged in poverty alleviation and made it a key priority in performing duties. The 13th National Committee has given key priority to poverty alleviation in its consultation and deliberation every year. By holding special meetings and by weekly consultative forums, arranging field and virtual study trips, putting forward and overseeing the handling of proposals, the National Committee carried out in-depth consultation and deliberation on the key issues of poverty alleviation. The special committees and departments are more broadly involved and members more deeply engaged than in any other topic in recent years. Many opinions and suggestions were translated into policy measures, making important contributions to eliminating poverty. It is fair to say that the CPPCC has continuously contributed to and witnessed the achievements in poverty alleviation. This is a vivid manifestation of CPPCC's commitment to always focusing on the central tasks of the party and the country in fulfilling its duties. You also asked about what work we have done in poverty alleviation. We did a lot, and you also asked about the standard of poverty in China. Indeed, the quality of poverty alleviation is also a matter of interest to the public. Many members of the National Committee are experts in this field. They said that China's poverty standard is a comprehensive one. Income-wise, China's standard is higher than the World Bank's standard for extreme poverty. More specifically, China made clear that the objective of poverty alleviation is to see that the basic living needs of rural poor populations are met and that such people have access to compulsory education, basic medical services, and housing. Now, China has met the basic living needs of all and ensured access to compulsory education, basic medical insurance, safe housing, and safe drinking water for all. The recently released report on national census on poverty alleviation provided details on the income and living conditions of our previously poor populations. I refer you to this report. In addition, China also tackled poverty with an enormous increase of public services and social security, including bridges, roads, electricity, and internet services. These steps have changed the way of life and work of the poor population and opened the door toward prosperity. Our farmers out of poverty have felt a concrete sense of gain and happiness. As I said, government departments have invested hugely in poverty alleviation. Take housing, for example. You need to expand for relocation and new construction of houses. These are the concrete deliverables of our poverty alleviation cause. CPPCC members are engaged firsthand in poverty alleviation and carried out field studies on its progress. Our members believe that China's poverty standard is high and substantive. You also asked about whether there will be return to poverty. This is a task that we must fulfill. China's development remains unbalanced and inadequate. The task to consolidate and expand the gains in poverty alleviation remains arduous. Members called for earnest efforts to deliver on the CPC Central Committee's major decisions, to build on the gains in poverty alleviation and fully advance rural revitalization. They stress the importance of overall stability in policy support and sound monitoring and support to prevent returning to poverty. We have a full-fledged monitoring system. We must make them up and running. They underlined the need for continued support for previously poor regions to help develop and strengthen rural industries, and continued support for previously poor populations to ensure stable employment. They highlighted the need for sound follow-up assistance to relocated populations to prevent substantial return to poverty. To consolidate poverty alleviation results, the National Committee has carried out a lot of work. In August last year, Chairman Wang Yang presided over a National Committee meeting in Gansu to oversee the handling of key proposals on consolidating poverty alleviation gains in the Western region during the 14th five-year plan period. At the meeting, CPPCC members and the leading officials of the relevant State Council departments engaged in consultation and discussion on the key challenges in consolidating poverty alleviation results. Such work played an important role in policy making. This year, the National Committee will continue to organize special consultations and inspection trips on this front, enable sustained development and prevent return to poverty, allow populations and regions out of poverty to grow in a sustained way and contribute to the realization of rural revitalization. Thank you.
请北区第二排第5位，边上那位。
谢谢主持人。发言人好，中评社记者提问：北京冬奥会进入了倒计时阶段，我们注意到有外国政客鼓动抵制北京2022年冬奥会，请问发言人对此有何评论？另外，在受疫情影响的背景下，北京冬奥会能否如期举行？谢谢。
With China News Service. With the countdown to Olympic Winter Games in Beijing, some foreign politicians called for boycotting the 2022 Winter Olympics. What's your comment? Given the impact of COVID-19, will Beijing 2022 be held as scheduled? Thank you.
Indeed, we are nearing the opening of the Beijing 2022 Olympic Winter Games. And there have been a lot of media coverage on that. Let me take your second question first. To ensure the success of Beijing 2022 Olympic and Paralympic Winter Games is a major task of China, as well as China's firm commitment to the international community. Many CPPCC members are from the sports sector, and many others are sports fans. Just like all Chinese people, we have high hopes for this grand sporting event and are looking forward to it. To our knowledge, COVID-19 has brought some impact to the preparations, and the competent authorities are working hard to adapt to the changing situation and devise new science-based measures to rearrange their work. The aim is to minimize exposure risks without delaying preparations. Thanks to the concerted efforts of relevant parties at home and abroad, preparations for the Games are well underway in parallel. All sports venues have been completed. The Beijing-Zhangjiakou High-Speed Railway and Beijing-Chongli Expressway are fully up and running. And steady progress is being made in sports organization, services, promotion, and international exchanges. So generally speaking, the preparations for the Beijing Games are well underway. There's now less than 1 year before the opening, and we are in the home stretch of the preparations for the Beijing Olympic and Winter Paralympic Games. We are convinced that the competent authorities will advance the preparations alongside effective COVID response, overcome all sorts of challenges, and ensure that everything is ready to go before the opening. Now, on the other question you raised, some individual politicians have been politicizing sports in an attempt to interfere and disrupt the preparations and convening of the Beijing Games. They are even calling for boycotts against the Games. Such moves run counter to the spirit of the Olympic Charter. We believe such attempts will by no means have any support from the international community or go anywhere. We have read some reports regarding the International Olympic Committee and some leaders of other countries and entrepreneurs who have voiced their opposition against such voices. I don't think their attempt will go anywhere. Thank you.
《人民日报》记者提问：今年将迎来中国共产党100年华诞，请问如何理解中国共产党领导的多党合作和政治协商制度？面向第2个100年目标，人民政协如何发挥自身独特的优势和作用？谢谢。
With People's Daily. This year marks the centenary of the Communist Party of China. My question is about the multi-party cooperation and political consultation system under the leadership of the CPC. Would you elaborate more on this system? And with a view to the second centenary goal, how will the People's Political Consultative Conference bring its distinct strengths to bear and play its role? Thank you.
This is a very important question and highly theoretical and practical one. Let me briefly answer this question. The system of CPC-led multi-party cooperation and political consultation is a basic political system of our country. It is a great political creation by the Communist Party of China, the Chinese people, democratic parties, and public figures without party affiliation. It is a new type of political system with Chinese features. In September 1949, the plenary session of the first National Committee of the CPPCC was convened and marked the official establishment of the system of CPC-led multi-party cooperation and political consultation. After reform and opening up, this system was confirmed as a basic political system of China and incorporated into the Constitution. Together with the system of people's congresses, the system of regional ethnic autonomy, and the system of community-level self-governance, it is part of a set of institutional arrangements and part and parcel to the socialist political system with Chinese characteristics. The system of CPC-led multi-party cooperation and political consultation as a new type of political system has its unique strength and distinctive features. It truly represents the fundamental interests of the general public and effectively overcomes the deficiencies of old political systems that represented only the few people or the few interest groups. It brings all political parties and public figures without party affiliation together in unity to strive for a common goal, and avoids both the lack of supervision when there is only one party and the vicious competition for power among multiple parties. With its institutional arrangements, the system pools various views and suggestions to make the decision-making process more scientific and democratic, and avoids the decision-making and governance approach of all the political systems that is driven by the interests of particular parties, classes, regions, or groups, and that causes social division. Such a new type of political system fits China's modern realities and reflects the Chinese nation's traditional values, i.e., serving the greater good, being open and inclusive, and seeking common ground while resolving differences. It is an important contribution to the political civilization of humanity. As I've made my preparations for the press conference, I discussed with some friends from the media. And when I briefed such information to these friends, they all agreed with me in general. The system of CPC-led multi-party cooperation and the political consultation has played an important role throughout China's socialist revolution, development, and reform and opening up. We will stick to it for a long time to come and fully demonstrate its strength. You asked about the CPPCC's future steps to make good use of this system and conduct its work. Let me say that under the circumstances of a new era, the CPPCC, as an important political and organizational form of this new system, will further strengthen its function as a specialized consultative body, uphold unity and democracy as the two major themes. This is also the fine tradition of the CPPCC. Focus on the central tasks of the party and the country, and fully utilize its multiple platforms and channels to conduct consultation and deliberation and perform its duties. We will make full use of the CPPCC's wealth of talent and extensive ties with various sectors, which are CPPCC's strength. Strengthen unity and cooperation among all political parties, people's organizations, and individuals from all ethnic groups and sectors of society. Make institutional arrangements for the democratic parties to voice opinion and offer suggestions in their respective names at CPPCC meetings, and help get great things done through extensive discussion and joint contribution. In addition to offering suggestions, we will redouble efforts to build consensus, so that these two functions may work side by side and pour concerted efforts for common progress. We will improve CPPCC institutions and mechanisms, continue to raise the quality and efficacy of our work, and actively contribute to the modernization of China's governance system and capacity. Thank you.
"发言人您好，我是人民政协报全媒体记者。我们在调查采访中发现，当大家都认为手机方便了生活的时候，老年人却面临着手机难题，比如因为不会使用健康码而无法进入到公共场所。如何让老年人在智能化时代乐享幸福？政协委员有哪些意见和建议呢？谢谢。
With CPPCC Daily. In our interviews, we have noted that while smartphones have made life more convenient, they have also posed challenges for senior citizens. For example, some are declined access to public places without a health QR code. How can we help the elderly embrace the digital age and enjoy a happy life with smart technologies? Are there any suggestions from the CPPCC National Committee members? Thank you.
You from the CPPCC paper asked a question that we all care about on people's livelihood. The aging population and the elderly's use of smart technologies is indeed an issue China faces. It also captures the attention of the CPPCC, a topic in our consultative forums. Over the years, our members have made proposals on related issues. The National Committee held a number of study sessions and bi-weekly consultative forums on this matter, inviting members and those from competent departments to exchange views and give policy advice. In the opinion of many members, smart technologies have indeed brought benefits to people's lives, but they may have caused some inconvenience for senior citizens, just as you pointed out on the use of smartphones. Difficulties in using new technologies among senior citizens have revealed shortages in tailored services in the age of progressing technologies. The CPC Central Committee therefore attaches great importance to this matter, and General Secretary Xi Jinping made specific instructions on this. Last November, the State Council released a document introducing measures to help senior citizens in 7 aspects, including their access to transportation, medical services, and ways of consumption. The goal is to address the difficulties senior citizens have in using smart technologies. Led by competent departments, various sectors in different regions, CPPCC members, and the entire society, as we have learned in our studies, are making active efforts to help senior citizens embrace the era of smart technologies. In some places, health codes are no longer the only criteria. Access is also granted by registering ID card numbers. I've read relevant reports that some QR code will also include ID card information. In some hospitals, there are special counters for senior citizens to register and make payments. The difficulties the senior group faces are being handled. This year, the National Committee has made actively addressing the issues in an aging society and promoting balanced development of the populations a priority in its consultation plans. We will gather members together for in-depth discussions and give policy advice for government decision-making. CPPCC members encourage all others in the society to act together and offer help. They also encourage young people to communicate more with the senior, help them adapt to the progress of smart technologies and modern lifestyles. As members would put it, the age of smart technologies must leave nobody behind. We hope that media present today, including the CPPCC paper, would cover this story and also follow the latest progress that we in the CPPCC are doing. Thank you.
NBC News, U.S. television network. Thank you, Minister Guomin. 2 years ago, same occasion, you spoke of improving communication with the world to tell the China story better. But since then, with the continuing controversies about how China has handled issues like the pandemic, Xinjiang, Hong Kong, and others, some observers would say that China's image problem may have gone from bad to worse, with a negative opinion of China in the United States, for example, up from 47% to 73%, according to one survey. And so, with due respect, Minister Guo, what has gone wrong? Thank you.
美国全国广播公司2年前的发布会上，您谈到要改善与世界的沟通，更好地讲述中国故事。2年来，在处理新冠病毒大流行、新疆、香港等问题上，持续有一些争论。一些观察人士认为，中国的形象持续下滑。例如，一项调查显示， 美国人对中国持负面看法的比例从47%升至73%。请允许我问这样一个问题，是什么出了问题？谢谢。
2年前啊，我们就
2 years ago, we talked about how to improve China's image. Your question has 2 dimensions, one on global polling results, and 2 on China's image. Indeed, there have been surveys to assess global views on China. This is complex. Results are affected by many factors, including the scope of surveys, their targets, data, and also methodologies. It is highly complex. You mentioned that in some countries, people see China less favorably for different reasons, I believe. Some do not have a full picture of what China is like. Others may have been misguided by anti-China politicians. For quite some time, certain politicians have been pointing fingers at and smearing China under the pretext of COVID-19, including its origin, Hong Kong and Xinjiang. We're seeing certain anti-China politicians are bent on tarnishing China's reputation and cooking up misleading narratives. Their narrative has misguided some in the United States and even the Western world. On this matter, the CPPCC National Committee has made active efforts. Some of our members have voiced their understanding and support. We have clarified China's policies and stance and repudiate groundless accusations. We are steadfast in defending our core national interests. I would also like to point out that the polling results by some independent institutions suggest that in quite a lot of countries, people actually have favorable views on China. I'm sure that you have noticed that as well. As we often say, seeing is believing. As more and more friends from other countries come and visit China, and as we step up efforts to enhance external communications and cooperation, more people will grow fond of China, and in the international community, favorable views will continue to increase. Since reform and opening up, especially since the 18th National People's Congress, China's economy has grown substantially. People's lives have been improved. When it comes to polling results, recent global surveys indicate that the Chinese people are highly satisfied with their government, over 90% to be more specific. As China forges closer ties with the world, it has made contributions to global peace and development. In the CPPCC, there are many members who have worked on external relations. There are retired ambassadors and those dedicated their lives to communications with the outside world. In promoting global growth, addressing climate change, achieving UN poverty reduction goals, and supporting global COVID-19 response, China has done a lot and played an important role. China's efforts are welcomed and recognized by many. Now, China is engaging and cooperating with more countries, or expanding its circle of friends, so to speak. Last year, we signed the RCEP, completed the negotiation on the China-EU Comprehensive Agreement on Investment, and successfully hosted the 3rd China International Import Expo. These are vivid examples of China's active engagement with the rest of the world. I will also briefly talk about what we in the CPPCC has done. Friendly exchanges with other countries is an important work for us. Over the years, the National Committee has promoted high-level exchanges and those at various levels, strengthened communications with political organizations, institutions, media, think tanks, and people in different fields. We also participated actively in multilateral events. In multiple fields, we'll engage with other countries through different channels and in different formats. So far, the National Committee has had friendly exchanges with 337 organizations and institutions from 157 countries, as well as 15 regional and international organizations. A peace-loving nation, China is committed to making more friends. The National Committee will further harness the advantages of the CPPCC and engage with other countries in various formats. Through friendly cooperation, we will together build a community with a shared future for mankind. Thank you.
请北区第3排第2位。
谢谢主持人。新华社记者提问：在刚刚过去的2020年，中国经济逆势增长，成为全球唯一实现正增长的主要经济体。那么，请问发言人，您如何看待当前备受各方关注的中国经济形势和营商环境的情况？那么，全国政协在推进营造市场化、法治化、国际化的营商环境方面都做了哪些工作？谢谢。
With Xinhua News Agency, in 2020, China's economy developed against headwinds and became the only major economy in the world that registered positive growth. What's your assessment of China's economic development and business environment, which are topics of interest to the public and media? And would you share with us the work of the CPPCC National Committee, specifically on fostering a world-class, market-oriented business environment governed by a sound legal framework? Thank you.
Well, the economy and business environment are important topics that the general public follows closely. This is also something the CPPCC attaches great importance to. As we all know, there are CPPCC members from financial, business, and academic sectors. There are also experts who used to serve in government departments, and they often conduct studies on the economic performance and on the business environment. In the year 2020, China has stood the serious and complex test posed by the domestic and external environments, especially of growth. CPPCC members are encouraged by such achievements, while also see uncertainties in the developments of COVID-19, a fluid global economic landscape, and to keep economic performance stable this year requires hard efforts. Yet we are convinced that under the strong leadership of the CPC Central Committee and with the concerted efforts of all Chinese people, we will secure new progress in the beginning year of the 14th five-year plan period. The CPPCC members carry out discussions on the economy and the business environment on a regular basis. They believe that a better business environment holds the key to invigorating market entities and maintaining steady growth in a challenging situation. Last year, the National Committee conducted symposiums, field visits, and themed deliberation chat groups to learn about corporate operation in depth and discuss policy measures to improve the business environment. The National Committee's Committee on Economic Affairs focused on the topic Priorities in Improving the Business Environment during the 14th Five-Year Plan period and conducted studies on companies of various sizes across various sectors and regions and chose over 130 state-owned, private, or foreign firms for very comprehensive studies. Some meetings were conducted in person and others were done virtually. And they heard the input of business owners extensively. On that basis, the committee produced a number of reports, including the 100 questions raised by 100 companies. The competent departments of the State Council attached great importance to the reports, and in response to the questions raised, they set up a designated program to follow up. Last January, the National Committee convened this year's first biweekly consultative forum with the theme Keep Improving the Business Environment. It was participated by CPPCC leaders, members from the economic and business sectors, experts, and representatives from SMEs, and leading officials from competent State Council departments. I myself also participated in the very active discussion. The members recognized the improvement in the business environment, while also called for further improvement as the top priority in the government's economic work. Some suggested further expanding market access and protecting the property rights and rights of autonomous operation of businesses of all types of ownership equally in accordance with law. Some called for a better long-term mechanism to address payment arrears to SMEs that works regardless of changes in the officials in charge. Some deemed it important to make government regulation better designed, more professional, and more standardized, fully deliver the dividends of opening up policies to foreign firms, and enhance domestic certainty to buffer external uncertainty. This year, the CPPCC will continue to follow this matter and contribute its wisdom and efforts to building a market-oriented, world-class business environment governed by a sound legal framework. Thank you.
由于时间关系，下面是最后一个问题，请大家举手。好，请北区第5排第5位。
非常感谢最后一个问题给到我，我是来自香港凤凰卫视、凤凰网、凤凰秀的记者胡玲。我们今天想提问香港问题，因为我们关注到今年受到新冠肺炎疫情的冲击等等一系列的因素，香港的经济社会呢是遭遇到了严重的下滑。我们非常想知道，今年中央是否会进一步出台相关的措施，来帮助香港走出经济困境？那么对于政协方面来说的话，你们有哪些具体的工作？另外，我们非常关注的是，我们看到国务院港澳办的主任夏宝龙日前是在多个场合多次强调了爱国者治港。想请问，这样的表态是否意味着鉴于当前的香港的局势会更加具有针对性？那么发言人对此您如何看待？谢谢。
Thank you for giving me the last question. My question is about Hong Kong. Due to the impact of COVID-19 and many other factors, Hong Kong experienced serious economic slowdown. This year, how will the central government help Hong Kong get out of the economic difficulties? And how will the CPPCC work in this regard. And recently, the director of the State Council Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office, Xia Baolong, highlighted on several occasions the importance of patriots administering Hong Kong. Is this meant to address the current situation in Hong Kong? And what's your take on this matter? Thank you.
The CPPCC National Committee has all along been caring for Hong Kong's economic and social development. We have over 230 CPPCC members from Hong Kong and Macau who hold Hong Kong dear to their hearts. They put forward their advice in various forms for the development of Hong Kong and contributed their part to the development of Hong Kong and Macau. You mentioned the current economic performance in Hong Kong. The current economic difficulties faced by Hong Kong are attributable not only to the impact of COVID-19, but also to what happened over the proposed legislative amendments. The implementation of the legislation on safeguarding national security in Hong Kong has effectively safeguarded national security and improved the system and institutions of one country, two systems. It serves as an anchor for Hong Kong's long-term prosperity and stability. Hong Kong's future is always closely interconnected with that of the motherland. Backed by the ever-developing motherland, Hong Kong is an important converging point of the domestic and international economic circulations. The rapid development of the motherland in recent years has created broad space for Hong Kong's growth. The central authorities strongly support Hong Kong's participation in the Belt and Road Initiative, the Guangdong-Hong Kong-Macau Greater Bay Area, and National Pilot Free Trade Zones, support Hong Kong in elevating its status as an international financial center, and help Hong Kong businesses explore the market of the mainland. To help Hong Kong contain COVID-19, the central government has done the utmost to ensure supplies to Hong Kong and assisted it in conducting large-scale testing and building community treatment facilities and temporary hospitals. Such efforts have helped ensure Hong Kong's economic and social stability. The CPPCC National Committee conducted a lot of work on promoting Hong Kong's economic and social development. Last year, the National Committee convened a consultative meeting with party and government departments and a special consultative meeting under the themes Building the Guangdong-Hong Kong-Macau Greater Bay Area International Science, Technology and Innovation Center and Advancing Innovation Cooperation in the Greater Bay Area. A series of valuable views and proposals were made that provided useful reference for the policymaking and effective implementation by the central authorities. CPPCC members believe that under the concerted efforts of the Hong Kong SAR government and all Hong Kong people, and with the strong support of the motherland, Hong Kong will embrace a bright future. You mentioned the notion of patriots administering Hong Kong. We believe that patriots administering Hong Kong is an integral part and core essence of one country, two systems, and a fundamental principle that must be followed in the full and faithful implementation of one country, two systems. The efforts to formulate and implement the legislation on safeguarding national security in Hong Kong and improve the election system of the SAR are all aimed at upholding and improving the one country, two systems policy and ensuring its steady and sustained implementation along the right direction. The CPPCC National Committee will earnestly act on the central authorities' policy on Hong Kong-Macau-related work, consolidate political guidance, pool consensus, and firmly support the fundamental principle of patriots administering Hong Kong. Thank you.
新闻发布会
Thank you. That concludes our press conference.